Coming up on This Week in Radio Tech, glamour shots were hot in the 1980s and 1990s, but Scott and Lisa Fybush have been making towers famous in photos for 15 years. Scott Fybush and Lisa joins Chris, Tobin, and me. We're talking not only glam towers, but also reflections on the NAB Radio Show in Nashville, and Chris is pushing microwaves out of the kitchen. This Week in Radio Tech is brought to you by the Axia Radius IP audio console. It's a standalone console that also networks. Spend less and get more with Axia Radius. By Omnia SST, turn your PC into a high-performance Omnia processor with micro MPX, too. And by Lavo and the Crystal Clear Virtual Radio Console. Crystal Clear is the console with a multi-touch touchscreen interface. Hey, welcome into This Week in Radio Tech, the show where we talk about radio, audio technology, RF, bits, ones and zeros nowadays, so much. And I just got back from the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association's Broadcasters Clinic. That's a lot. We'll say the WBA Clinic. How about that? No, nobody was sick that I know of, but we all learned a lot about engineering. And man, I had a great time. We're going to talk about that just a little bit. Chris Tobin has joined us. By the way, I'm Kirk Harnack. My full-time job is with the Telos Alliance, so if you hear a bias that way, it's understandable. I kind of get their stuff. And Chris Tobin's here, too. He probably has a bias as well. Chris, welcome in.
I have no biases. I just enjoy doing things in radio and engineering. That's all I do.
Well, you're not in your office, are you? Or if that is your office, we need to talk about office space.
Well, what's an office these days? It's anywhere you plant yourself and connect your laptop, right? Okay, fine. I'm in a sports bar in Philadelphia. It's known as Chickies and Pete's. It's a quite popular place. It's a chain. And I was actually helping a friend with a broadcast that starts shortly after hours on a different channel. So I'm doing double duty today, but that's where I'm at. It's actually a lot of fun. So you may see people behind me. There's a couple of things. Oh, you know what? I should do this. Let's see if this works. Let's try this.
Let's work.
And you see the ketchup bar? You see the ketchup? Let me do this.
Yeah.
Hang on.
Hang on.
You see that little white thing?
Is this ketchup Wi-Fi?
That is my link, my last mile link to the cable modem in the back room, 5.8. And my supporting structure, it's not a lattice or a mic stand, it's a ketchup bottle.
So you looks like a Velcro cable tie between.
Yes, it is.
Oh my gosh! But there's another ketchup bottle further down the bar up there. That
has nothing to do with it.
Okay, that's just
it's just a prop. It just happens to be in the way, I guess. It's
okay.
On the back of the unit, I can see the signal level, and I have full bars, full signal strength. So
you're in a bar with full bars. That is amazing.
Thank goodness, it's good for business.
Tell you what, Chris, if you would wait a few minutes, let's. I want to hear about your linkage, because you so often bring ideas to the table, and I want other engineers to think out of the box when it comes to getting an IP signal to out of the way places. So let's keep your powder dry. We're going to talk to Scott Fybush, both of us, as we go along here, and then we'll. Actually, what I'm wanting to see is how well does this work, and then we'll talk about it. So we don't make promises we can't keep. Hey, also with us is Scott Fybush from Fybush.com and Northeast Radio Watch. Scott, welcome in. Welcome in.
Thanks. Good to be here. I'm disappointed I am not in a location where I can get crab fries. I'd love to get some crab fries here. Chris, maybe you can send some virtually. I don't know if Skype has a crab fry feature, but that would...
yeah, I knew you were going to say it. That's great. Yes, there were crab fries on the table next to me, and lobster tails. And anybody knows this sports bar, those are the two staples. We were at an event a couple of weeks back with snow days, snow crabs. That's all I'm going to say. Scott, take it away.
Hey, actually, Scott, you seem well informed as Chris. What are crab fries? This went right over my head.
These are it's a local specialty there at Chickie and Pete's. It's French fries with this wonderful Old Bay crab seasoning on them. They're spicy and they're good. Oh, getting hungry right now just thinking about them.
So there's no actual crab in the crab fries?
No.
No,
it's just crab seasoning, but it's got the sauce on it. Oh, they are good.
Wow. All right. I got to do a show from up there. We got to get together. So,
I'll meet you for that.
Scott, where's your office? What city are you in?
I am up in Rochester, New York. No
Okay.
crab fries here. We have the garbage plate, however. I'll have to remember next time to grab one of those as a prop, which is a plate of home fries and macaroni salad. And then you put your choice of meat on it, either 2 hamburgers or 2 hot dogs or one of each. And then you put a sort of a meat-based hot sauce on it.
Yeah.
It's a Rochester thing.
Wow. Hey, I was thinking that I haven't been to Rochester in years. I went there. I visited WXXI years and years ago, and I haven't been back except when I was a wee little kid, about 3 years old. I lived there, and I just remember the snow was deeper than I was tall. That's all I remember about Rochester.
We do get, not as much lately, but we do get snow here, absolutely. But anytime you want to come up, we will eat well, I promise you.
Well, I visited, WXXI years ago. What's your involvement there these days?
That's kind of my home base up here. I am the designated news fill-in guy, so whenever our Morning Edition host or All Things Considered host or our talk show host need a day off, I get up early or stay up late, as the case may be, to help them with that. And then I'm also the guy who goes in and does the pledge drive, so I'll be doing pledge drives next week, all next week.
Good deal. All right. Hey, we're gonna
all next week.
All next week, yes. We're going to really get into the show here in just a minute, but we've got a couple of sponsors, 3 actually, and I want to tell you about one of them, folks that I work for, so I'm really familiar with this gear, and that is Axia and their range of small consoles. And I bring these up because I was just talking to a guy actually just yesterday at the Wisconsin Broadcasters Clinic, and they had put in about 4 or 5 of these consoles. Actually, I'm going to show you the Radius console here from the TELUS Alliance website. Click on Axia and go to the Radius console. This is the Radius console. And in fact, this show you're listening to right now, whether you're listening to the audio-only version or the video plus audio version, this show and every other show on the GFQ network goes through a Radius console. That's how it's mixed. And the real benefit of a Radius console, well, there's several. First, okay, it is audio over IP. So it's got LiveWire, and the latest software versions now have AES67 built in. So if you want to use your Radius console or your IQ console or other small console from Axia to feed, say, some Genelec speakers over AES67 connection, you can do that. If you want to feed AES67 to another brand of console, maybe a Yamaha console or something from Lavo, you can do that over AES67. It's pretty amazing. By the way, Ravenna is also built into to these products as well, at least into the X nodes. So there's a lot of flexibility there and a lot of talking with other folks. Now, I like the Radius console for a few reasons. It's got these big, bright LED meters, and so when they bring the picture up again, you can see these big, nice, curved LED meters. And as an engineer, I've always thought that it's hard enough for the talent to pay attention to their levels, and the Radius just has these big meters, which are wonderful. Now, it also has the OLED displays, which are really bright and clear and show you the name of the source on every fader. It shows you the incoming source level, like a pre-fader level. It shows you that on meters. It also shows you the talkback level. So if you're sending audio back to somebody that's on a fader, it shows you that talkback level as well. Plus, they're multifunction. You can choose sources. You can adjust the EQ. Of course, the engineer, we engineers can lock you out of that if we want to. But there's so many things you can do right from the console itself. And then something else that I like about the Radius is that it's small and it's inexpensive. I hope I have the numbers right, but it's in the $6,000 neighborhood for an 8-fader console that's AOIP, power supply built in, Ethernet switch is built in. Now that's in the Core 16. That's the rack mount part. So it has an Ethernet switch with power over Ethernet built in. So if you want to add a phone system, no problem. And you want to plug in a Telos VSET phone, plug it in. It's got power over PoE right there for you, so it makes cabling nicer. It has the Core 16 has a couple of mic level inputs. They're mic pre inputs. It's got analog inputs on RJ45s, analog outputs, also an AES input and output, and of course, it's got LiveWire and AES67 as well. So it's a great little console. Again, I was talking with a fellow the other day who has put in 5 of these, plus a couple of the small desk consoles, and they're just amazing. The key for a show like this, a podcasting show, is it does automatic mix minus. So I hear the right feed. I never hear an echo of myself back. I'm never fed myself back. Chris Tobin hears his correct feed. He hears me, Scott, whoever I guessed is, back into his ear. And Scott, are you hearing yourself back, or are you just hearing me and Chris when we talk?
I am just hearing you.
Okay, but when Chris talks, you're hearing him too, right?
I am hearing Chris, yes.
Good. Okay. Automatic mix minus, and it's being controlled by a guy who's not even there. It's just amazing. Check it out. Go to telusalliance.com, click on Axia, and look for the Radius console. Everybody I've ever talked to that has one loves it. I've got 2 of them myself in American Samoa, and I really like these things. All right. This is episode 321. Scott Fybush is here. Chris Tobin's along as well. And Scott, let's just jump right into your adventures. Now, we got to talking a few weeks ago because you were in Nashville. And
yes, I was.
Did you do some touring of transmitter sites here in Nashville?
Let me tell you, here is a free plug for the Nashville Convention and Visitors Bureau. What an awesome city you live in. I had the best time.
Yeah.
It really, there is just so much to do and so much to see there, both just generally tourism-wise and then radio specifically. And boy, you have some great engineers there in town. I got to go over and see Cumulus's Nash campus, which was just a couple of blocks from where the radio show was held.
So did you get to tour around there with Troy Pennington?
Troy took me around there, and he took me around their sort of their mothership where all the local stations are too, which was over as part of that whole Music Square area. So he took me around there. Jason Cooper took me up, showed me the Opry. Got to go stand on the stage of the Opry. Got to stand under the stage of the Opry.
I've never been there.
What a facility
under the stage.
That is.
Okay.
Get Jason to take you there sometime. That was amazing, going underneath the stage and seeing the whole setup technically and engineering wise that they have there. Got to pay homage, of course, to the legendary WSM.
Yeah, that's literally down the road for me, about 4 miles away. I pick it up real good.
Yeah, I'll bet. So I got to see that transmitter site. Got to see WLAC's transmitter site, which is up on the north side of town, and see some
Never
of the
been
history.
there. Tell me about that.
That's a neat site up there too. You know, there was this rivalry that existed. So we got to get back into some history here. You think of Nashville as being the music city, but in terms of broadcasting history, it was the insurance and auto parts city. And so the 3 big historic stations there, 2 of them, WSM and WLAC, were both insurance company stations. One of them was Life and Casualty, WLAC, and then one of them was the National Life Insurance Company, WSM. We shield millions with the shield with WSM in it. And so both of them kind of vied to see who could build the showplace of studios. The WLAC one, it's fallen on some hard times since, but they still have these beautiful lights by the door that have the WLAC call sign cut out of them, and you can see what a grand site that one once was too. And I made it out to Lebanon, out to see a shortwave site out in Lebanon. There's a fairly new shortwave broadcaster out there, WTWW.
And
that's a neat facility out there. I had a late night tour one night after the convention was over, and got to go see that, and made it down also. Another one that's down on the south side of town, not far from you, is Dave Ramsey's whole studio facility. And boy, what an empire he's built down there. It's much more than just a daily talk show now. It's publishing, it's education. It's got 600 people working there.
The parking lot's pretty full.
Well, not at midnight when I was down there, but yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, the rest of the time. And it's neat because it's set up for audiences. So you can actually go in if you're a fan of the Dave Ramsey show. You can go in and watch from the other side of the glass and see him do his show. Yeah. And there's a little cafe there where you can get some snacks, and it's set up so that he can actually have people on the air from the cafe. Just a really neat setup. And then the food. Don't get me started on the food down there. Oh, did I eat well?
Did you get some hot chicken?
Did I ever? I tried a couple of different places. There's, I can't think of the name of it now. It's over, I think, 19th Street or thereabouts, one of the famous ones. And then there's
Hetty B's?
Yes, that was it. That was it. Yeah. Hour-long wait in line, but boy, was it worth it.
Yeah.
And then there's another one there right around the corner, not around the corner, but right downtown by the river there. There's a restaurant that's opened up that's got a whole webcaster right in front of it. It's called Acme Seed.
Oh, yeah, Acme Scene, sure, yeah.
Yeah, they've got a whole
Acme Scene.
webcast operation with a neat studio. I believe with one of your consoles in it, if I remember correctly.
They do. They have an Axia console in there.
And some really good hot chicken there, too. So, yeah, it was fun. We had a good time.
Chris, Tobin, as good as the food is at your locale right now, your mouth hasn't been happy until it's had some Nashville hot chicken. You gotta come down here and let me treat you.
I'll definitely do that. I'm trying to figure out a way to do it. I'll get down there.
Okay.
I told Lisa I'm bringing her down for a visit where we mostly just do tourism at this point.
So you visit these transmitter sites, and you kind of talked about the WLAC site. Did any other sites just really impress you? Did you see anything like, I've never seen that before? Like WSM has a whole machine shop in the basement because they used to build transmitters and transmitter parts for themselves and for other people. Did you see anything else that just went, wow, that's cool?
I mean, WSM blows you away. It has to, right? There was some other neat stuff, too, though. I have a good friend who works at Channel 4, which was at one time WSM TV. And they built a whole studio facility over on the west side of town, up on Knob Road, in the, late 1950s when they built it. And he was showing me around their transmitter room, and their transmitter room has a storage area in it. They've got all the documentation in there from the whole last big Clear Channel fight from the 1960s when all these stations were trying to go to 750 or 500 kilowatts, as the case may be. And they kept all the correspondence that went back and forth among all the Clear Channel stations. That would be lowercase c in this case. And all their lobbyists in Washington. All that stuff was still sitting in a box. I could have spent the entire week just there plowing through that. So that was a neat, unexpected surprise, getting to see that. So that would definitely have to be a highlight of the whole experience right there.
Yeah, I've been to that site once or twice, I think to adjust an audio processor. But I wasn't aware of all the history that was there. That's pretty cool. There's actually I want to say the Tennessee, if I can say this right, the Tennessee Ornithological Society walks that property on Knob Hill, Knob Road there, where the Channel 4 tower is. They walk that property daily or almost daily, looking for birds that have run into the tower, and just adding to the data about how are birds running into towers, and is this a problem? So they've been doing that for I believe for decades there.
Interesting. I had heard there was some sort of study going on there. One other site that was fantastic that a lot of people don't know about because it's not on the tourism roster. You can go through the Country Hall of Fame. You can take a tour of the famous RCA Studio B where Elvis did all of his Nashville recording, right? There is another studio right around the corner from there on Music Square that was the original Quonset Hut studio. It was the first Nashville recording studio. From the mid-1950s, and it's where Patsy Cline did all of her recording, where Johnny Cash did all his recording. It ended up in the hands of Columbia, and then eventually it ended up in the hands of one of your universities there, and they use it now as a teaching facility. But if you know the right people to ask, they'll let you come inside, and they'll show it off, and it's just magical to stand there and realize this is the exact spot where all of these records, and the list goes on and on and on. They gave me the list of everything that was recorded there. And to think this is where all of this was recorded. And then right next door to it in the same complex was Columbia Studio A, and that's where Bob Dylan did Blonde on Blonde, and Nashville Skyline, it's where Nobel laureate Bob Dylan, as of today, did Nashville Skyline and Blonde on Blonde. So that was a pretty magical experience right there, too. And there's tons of radio there, too. Right next door is WNAH, which is like a trip back in time to walk into their studio, and they've got the old RCA rotary pop board from the, I think, not even 40s, not even 50s at that point.
Yeah. Wow.
So, yeah, I could have spent a week just doing radio stuff there without even setting foot on the show floor.
Yeah, I need to go see WNAH. I've heard about it, and I've driven by it, dozens of times, and I've got to go in there. That's cool.
Oh, I should definitely stop in.
So, plenty about Nashville. Thanks for being here. And by the way, let's put in a plug for the NAB Radio Show here, or at least an observation or two. I was in a meeting. Boy, where was it? Well, maybe it was a Telos meeting. But anyway, we were chatting about the NAB Radio Show and just how it felt this year compared to other years. And of course, I live in Nashville. I'm biased toward liking stuff here because I think we have some good stuff. But man, my feeling about the radio show was that there was a good vibe. There was good handshakes and meeting people, and it felt alive. It felt like it wasn't in too big a space or too small a space, and just it felt good. Like there was some excitement in the radio biz. So what was your thought being from out of town? How did you think that the whole show went?
I thought it went great. This was the second one in a row that I've been to. I missed a couple of years, and I was in Atlanta last year, which was another good show. That one really went well. But yeah, this was a great location. It was, I was very impressed at how busy the show floor stayed, not just on day one, but even into the next day as well. It's a short show. That's one of the neat things about it. NAB, depending on how many things you're there for at NAB, if you're there for one of the public broadcasting conferences the week before, or if you're there for one of the vendors' user groups the week before, you can easily be out there for a week and a half, 2 weeks. And it gets, it drains on you after a while. And boy, you get to those last couple of days, and all you want to do is get off that floor and get back home and not talk to anybody for probably a month. But this is a nice, it's a 2.5 day show. They had, being Nashville, they had music going, so there's the stage that was right there in the exhibit area. And when they weren't doing presentations, and boy, some of those presentations were really well attended. I went to a couple of the EAS presentations because, of course, they were getting ready at that point for the big national EAS test that happened just a week later. And it was there was a good crowd. It was good energy. People were excited to be there. And yeah, I think there was a very positive vibe leading out of this, and it's going to be in Austin, Texas next year, so I'm really looking forward to that as well. I think that's going to be a hoot of a show too. That's a town I've never been to. I hear the eating is pretty good there also. But yeah, no, the vibe was good. There were a lot of faces there. It was for a lot of people in the area, even just a day trip, because you can come down easily from Ohio, you can come up from Atlanta, you can come up from Alabama and Mississippi, and so there were a lot of people that made the trip there, and it came off really well.
Nashville is under a 4-hour drive from a whole lot of population in this part of the country. Well, cool.
Chris Tobin, you did traffic locally. Huh? Boy, that was.
Well, yeah. You were saying how bad the local traffic was, and I'm oblivious because I'm so fortunate. I mean, the folks that tell us, I got to sing their praises. I mean, they let me work from home, except when I need to go out, to the company in Cleveland or to a show or something like that. And so I work from home. I sometimes my car sits in the garage for 3 or 4 days at a time.
That's the case for me too. The only difference is I can be downtown Rochester in 8 minutes from here. So.
Well, I can be downtown Nashville 8 minutes. I don't take the interstate.
There you
side roads. Yeah. So, Chris Tobin, you didn't get to come to the radio show, right?
No, I did not. A little scheduling conflict. Sorry, I wanted to be there, but I couldn't make it.
The next time we get together in person, Chris, may be at the NAB show, or actually the PREC in Las Vegas. Are you going to be able to come out there in April?
Oh yes, April's all booked. That's all taken care of.
Oh, good.
Those dates are locked in.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to doing one or maybe even two TWiRT shows out there with you.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'll bring my travel gear, the usual.
Let's see if we get thrown out of another hotel.
I look forward to it. That'll be fun. Come on, why not? It's Vegas. It's all about having fun.
Scott, one of the things that Chris is amazing at is negotiating with people who want to throw you out of somewhere.
Keep that in mind.
He's pretty good at keeping our spot. So
I'm going to bring Lisa
Scott,
too, because she's got to go to a meeting in a few minutes. So I'm going to bring her in here. She's just grabbing a chair, and she's going to join me here too.
Tell you what, have we got 90 seconds for a commercial? You guys get set up and situated. Our producer will make sure you're both in the shot, and we'll hit it from there. This Week in Radio Tech, episode 321 with Kirk Harnack. Chris Tobin is at a really fun place, a bar and grill, a sports bar. And Scott Fybush is here he's with Northeast Radio Watch and Fybush.com. And we're also going to hear, well, we just did. We're going to hear from Lisa Fybush in just a minute. We got some cool things to share with you, so hang on for that. Our show, This Week in Radio Tech, is brought to you in part by the folks at Omnia and this audio processor that was just introduced formally at the IBC show in Amsterdam. It's the Omnia SST processor. Now, I got to tell you, this looks to me like it's the first in a line of cool additions to the Omnia line. This runs on a PC, so your PC can now be an Omnia processor. And it's amazing. Hans von Zutphen, one of our developers, and the developer of, a lot of folks know about Stereo Tool. Well, Hans has taken years of experience in learning with Stereo Tool, added that to what he collaborates with Leif Clayson and Frank Foti and Rob Dye and Mark Manolio. They all collaborate together, and the best of the best has gone into the Omnia SST processor that runs on a PC. So, hey, your budget's limited, you want a backup processor, maybe you want a main processor and actually, run it in a blade server, run it in a standalone machine. The Omnia SST software can do that. It's going to save you a ton of money, too. And here's something else that the Omnia SST does. It's got built into it micro MPX. That's the new transmission format over IP to let you get your multiplex signal from the studio to the transmitter over just 320 kilobits per second. So that's pretty amazing. And then at the transmitter site, you either put another PC there, a small one. It can actually run on a Raspberry Pi. I think it's a little bit tricky, but it can do that. And that's how we demonstrated actually at the IBC show, to give you analog multiplex out and then go into your composite input on your exciter. So with point there being 320 kilobits per second, your multiplex signal gets from the studio to the transmitter. And I mean, man, even a DSL line can handle 320 kilobits per second with your composite signal. And by the way, your composite signal is reconstructed perfectly accurately at the transmitter site. No overshoots. Yes, there is a codec used in it. And by the way, watch this space or watch the Telos Alliance YouTube channel, because we've got a presentation by Frank Foti. It was just given on Tuesday, 2 days ago, at the Wisconsin Broadcasters Clinic, where he explains a lot about micro MPX. So we'll have that talk, that lecture, online, so you can find out a whole lot more about it. Check it out, though. Go to the website, telosalliance.com, click on Omnia, and then click on the Omnia SST, an amazing processor. It has all the tricks built into it to give you more loudness with zero extra processing. There's actually 2 or even 3 trick benefits in there to give you more loudness than you can get with anybody else. Just cool as could be. All right, our show This Week in Radio Tech with Scott Fybush. Lisa Fybush is here. Chris Tobin is joining from a sports bar. Chris, are you chowing down yet, or are you keeping your fingers out of the food dish?
Actually, I did have a slice of the pizza with shrimp and marinara sauce. So,
what?
Yes.
What?
90 seconds, I had to finish that off. And there's crab fries coming. I'll try and get some more visuals, hopefully in the next couple of minutes, see if I can do that. But Scott knows what I'm talking about.
If a plate appears in front of you, let's see it on camera.
Place for the crab fries?
Yes, I will do that, definitely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So let's bring in back Scott Fybush. Lisa is rumored to be with him right now. There they are.
Hey.
Hi. Welcome in, Lisa.
Thank you.
Glad you're here. So you're here to talk about something very cool. It's a picture on a product. What is it?
It is the just chosen cover of the Tower site calendar. People who look at our site know that this year we decided to let our viewers vote on the cover. We gave them 3 choices, and the poll is technically it's open and you can still vote because I haven't shut it down yet, but we have a clear winner. So This Week in Radio Tech is the first place you can see the actual cover of the 2017 Tower site calendar.
Let's check with our producer, Suncast, to see if he's able to bring that picture up. And Suncast, remember, I sent you 2 different versions. I think we're supposed to show the second version.
The second version, yes. The first one gave away. That's the one.
I haven't seen it yet. This is my first time seeing it.
Yeah.
This one doesn't give away the identity of the station. So, Lisa, talk to us about guessing that.
Right. The last year, for the first time, we decided to have a Guess the Tower contest, or Guess the Cover, where you had to identify what tower it actually was, and the winner won a professional level subscription to Fybush.com, which includes a copy of the Tower site calendar. We had some interesting guesses, and it was we didn't have a lot of correct winners. We actually only had, I think, 2 people who guessed it correctly, and one got in first. So now that we have voted on the cover and we have the cover, we are going to have the Guess the Tower, or Guess the Cover now. That will be starting this week. And once again, the first person to guess it correctly wins a complimentary subscription for 1 year to our site and a copy of the 2017 Tower Site Calendar.
So can we see the cover? Can we see the cover again, Suncast? Now, whether you think you know what this is or whether you don't, you should go to which website, Lisa? While we keep this up, let's keep the picture up. Lisa, where do people go to guess?
Go to fybush.com.
Yeah.
And you click on the shop link. It says at fybush.com/shop, and you can order the calendar right there.
Order and guess at the same time.
Guess you email me. You can. There's not any place to contact anyone on the site. To guess, you email me, lisa@fybush.com.
There you go, lisa@fybush.com. If you know what that tower site is and the actual calendar identifies the tower site, Lisa and her graphic artist wiped that identification away so that we wouldn't give it away here on the show. So.
Yeah.
Oh, very cool. I love my tower site calendars. I've got, I don't know, 5, 6 of them, something like that now. You guys have many more than that, I'm sure.
This is going to be the 16th year that we've done it, believe it or not.
16th.
Oh, wow. Wow. Yeah. Wow. Cool. So tell us about, real quick, we'll let you guys do a quick commercial. Cost, packages. Can you get some, signed by Scott and Lisa? What's the deal?
Absolutely. Oh, I'm flattered. Nobody's ever asked me to sign one. It's $19.50 for the regular one, and you can get it shipped first class for $3.50 or $6 for priority mail, and for $25 you can get an autographed and numbered copy. We only sell 40 of those, so it is a limited edition. And we do have we can do a combo price if you want to order signed and an unsigned. We can, for $1 you can add on a Fybush Media pen. For $1 you can add on a very nice polyethylene bag that is resealable that you can keep it in forever, although the signed editions come with that. So if you get a signed edition, we throw in the bag.
And I should mention, too, that, of course, there are packages that include subscriptions to Northeast Radio Watch, which is my weekly column covering everything that's happening in radio in the Northeast. And we also, I believe, again this year, are going to be selling John Schneider's Radio Historians Calendar, which is another really nice piece of work where he pulls out vintage photos going back as far as the 20s and 30s and colorizes them. And there's just some great stuff in there that even if you're a broadcast historian, you may never have seen before. So that's a neat product, too, and we're happy to offer that along with my calendar. Right.
And we also have a lot of books on broadcast history. We will be selling, again, I think, the NRC AM log. We've sold that. And we have a lot of books about radio and TV in different markets. Rhode Island and Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, lots of those. Everything around. We have some autographed copies still of Ithaca Radio by Peter Steinhaus King. Actually came up a few years ago, and we had a book signing, and we still have some signed copies of Ithaca Radio. So we hope a lot of good stuff in our store.
I would think that engineers in the business, engineers take care of tower sites. Some engineers are also station owners. But so Scott and Lisa, if an engineer is particularly proud of his tower site and he's never seen it in your calendar, what would an engineer do over the next few months to maybe encourage inclusion of their beautiful tower site in maybe an upcoming year's calendar?
Well, what you do is you order up a first-class airline ticket made out in my name and a couple of nights in a nice hotel, and then you put it in.
And the activities for the kids.
Yeah, there we go. No, it depends a lot on where I happen to have been traveling, and it depends on what kind of weather I've had. So it's hard to guarantee to somebody, your tower will definitely be in there. One of the things that I've gotten big on is doing things on significant anniversaries. And so for the 2017 calendar, there are a fair number of stations that signed on in 1922 and 1932 and 1942. one of which may have been a hint for the cover. You never know. So those make it in there sometimes with significant dates. And, of course, I try to get a geographic mix in there to make sure that it's not all towers from upstate New York, or it's not all towers from around Las Vegas at NAB time or what have you.
Right. And we try to get a seasonal mix in there, too. So the December shot is usually a winter shot. The October shot is usually a fall shot, and so on. Because my personal opinion is just if you look at like a sunny green landscape in December, that just makes you mad.
But by all means, if you've got a site that you think is photo worthy, let me know about it. I'll try to get it on my travel schedule. I go around. I've got a neat slideshow that I give to local SBE chapters and other groups that are interested. So if somebody is watching and you happen to be the program chair for your local SBE chapter and you're interested in having me come talk to you, I'd love to do it. I'm headed down, I hope, in Florida in March. Going to go see a couple of chapters there. I've got a couple of invitations to go see some sites and go give some talks. And hey, Florida in March, what's not to like, right?
Absolutely.
I've got a question, and maybe Chris Tobin, I want to hear Chris chime in first on this, and then Scott and Lisa. And Lisa, I understand you have to leave pretty soon, so if you have to, just butt in and say I do. I want to hear the official answer second, but let me ask Chris Tobin, what makes for a handsome tower site? What makes a tower site worthy of a picture or even a centerfold or a fold-out in a calendar? Chris, what do you think?
I would think, let's see, for a tower site, multiple towers, a lot of crisscrossing guy wires, tower obstruction lights, and just the right arrangement to give a nice color. And then maybe a very old style, for me, be like an Art Deco type transmitter building if you're, I'll say WSYR days. Scott knows what I'm talking about. Something like that. Or maybe the open wire transmission line if you still have that at your facility in your AM/FM combo. Or even a tower with an AM site with an FM antenna bay, sets of bays on it. That would be good. Nice blue sky or nighttime shot.
All good ideas. Well, Scott, I'll give my opinion. Then Scott, you tell me where I'm wrong. I agree with Chris, although I think a single tower can be beautiful, but the picture's got to be visually appealing. And I love close angle pictures. So where the tower is big in one part of the picture and then it tapers up out of sight. Way up there. Of course, a straight-on picture's fine too, because that's how we normally see towers. But I even a shot looking up a guy wire, where you see the curve of the guy wire on its way up, and that's the kind of picture that excites me. Now, Scott, Lisa, tell me where I'm wrong. What makes a good picture for your calendar?
I think Chris especially really nailed it there. The building certainly makes a difference. The grounds, if the landscaping around it is nice, that certainly makes for a pretty picture. One of the things that I'm excited for next year, I really want to start getting into doing drone photography because there are some shots that you simply can't always get from ground level that I think would be spectacular from a couple hundred feet up. I've got one site right near me, as a matter of fact, that every time I drive by it, there's an elevated highway overpass that curves around right by it. And I keep thinking to myself, if I get right in there and up a couple of hundred feet with a drone, I could get a really dramatic shot. So that's something next year that I want to start getting involved in. I got to talk to some of those vendors. As you know, at NAB now in April, they have a huge drone section that I expect will be even bigger next year. So I got to spend some time with some of those vendors in April and find some of the right solutions to be able to get photos of the quality that I need that are shot from above. But I think Chris really nailed it. Those Art Deco buildings are always fantastic. I know exactly the one he means in Syracuse, WSYR, with the fancy call letters on top of it. You line up a shot like that just right, and it's gorgeous.
And I would say also, sometimes if the tower has an unusual shape, it's always nice when you can have a Blawnox in. And the other big thing to me is the lighting. So, which of course you can't exactly plan. If it just looks out, there was just 2007, I think it was, or 2008, I remember just got lucked out. He got a picture of a tower in Duluth at sunset, and the sky was just exploded. It was just a gorgeous shot. I think we got more press coverage that year than anything just because of that photo.
It was still one of the most spectacular sunsets I've ever seen, with or without towers.
Yes.
But fortunately, there were towers, so it helped.
Scott and Lisa and Chris, do you run across people who just don't understand the beauty that we see in a steel structure at sunset? I think that's one of the most beautiful things that, to take a picture of. And, most folks, I don't think understand that.
Well, that's part of industrial design.
Yeah. A lot of them are in our family, unfortunately. They still get the calendar because they like to support Scott, but I remember being out with my father one time, and he was like talking to somebody about a bunch of pictures of, and he like we were in a restaurant, he took a knife and stood it up straight. It's like a bunch of this, and I wanted to say to him, no, they're not all. The whole point is that we're not doing just a bunch of sticks. We're trying to have variety in the shape, the layout, all of that. If it were just a bunch of single tower arrays designed like that, that would be boring. I would agree with that, but we try very hard not to do that.
Scott, I know you guys got to go, and Chris and I will. Chris, how much more time do you got? Are you real close, or have you got 5 more minutes?
5 might cut it close, but I can try.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. But Scott, you can hang through, but Lisa has to leave, right?
Uh-oh, we lose him?
She's good for a couple more minutes.
Actually, I'm good for a couple more minutes, yes.
I want, Lisa, wrap up with any other thing that you have to tell us, because I need for Chris, before he has to go, to describe his technical setup, because I promised that at the beginning of the show. And Scott, if you can hang with us till the end also, that'd be great too, because Chris is going to have to go soon. So Lisa, any last words from you?
Buy the calendar.
I'm going to plug in for your show, too.
Yes. Oh, yes, that's right.
Oh, yeah, your radio show.
Maybe, Fybush should start underwriting me. And if you like the Beatles, I have a radio show now. We need to figure out a way to tie it in. Yes, Rochester Free Radio, which is 106.3 FM. It's an LP FM, or rochesterfreeradio.com. Saturday, 6 p.m., I host the Tragical History Tour. And that is a show that features Beatles music. And I try very hard to play the stuff you don't hear. A lot of live stuff, a lot of good stuff from the anthology. So do not tune in expecting to hear Yesterday, Penny Lane, and Lady Madonna.
Oh, yeah, sure. Okay. Cool. All right, that's at rochesterfreeradio.com, and the show again is called?
The Tragical History Tour.
That's what I thought you said, the Tragical History Tour. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, you can thank the Ruddles, Eric Idle, Neil Innes, and the Ruddles for the name.
Okay. We'll put a link to that in the show notes, and we'll listen for you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. All right, let's real quick. Chris, you got a crazy Rube Goldberg setup almost? Or no. I mean, it sits there and works. What you got going?
It's working. It's not a Rube Goldberg, but first, this is for Scott's benefit here. Let me do this. Let's see if you can see. There we go. Crab fries. Crab fries.
I think it's almost dinner time because I'm hungry now.
I'm at a sports bar in Philadelphia. Yes, sports bar. And let's see if I can do this right. Look at the ketchup bottle. You see a ketchup bottle as I move the camera. Yes, look at that ketchup bottle. That's just an advertisement. Ketchup bottle and a Ubiquity 5.8 directional antenna pointing through a wall to an office in the back where I have a Omni 5.8 Ubiquity rocket shooting just Omni, spraying everything RF, plugged into a cable modem for the network here. And I have a ping time of 14 milliseconds, 42 megs up, 12 megs down, which is exactly what they have at the switch. And that's what I have here. And I'm using an Ethernet switch to break out from this directional antenna. And I've got about 5 different devices plugged into the switch. So we actually have a radio station doing a radio remote using my link, and they have a POTS codec. IP codec plugged into it, and it's doing just fine. We're doing video streaming shortly, which is about 2.5 megabits for 720p, and I still have room to do what we're doing right now. So we're actually doing 3 things as I'm doing this netcast. It's
wow. Chris, I think I got this figured out here, Chris. The front ketchup bottle is the reflector. The back ketchup bottle is the directed element there.
We can look it that way, if you'd like, yeah. Yeah, that is a directional antenna. If you put it on its side, you'd reduce the signal by like 30 dB, but it works. Now, and on the back of it has a signal strength.
So reducing the signal by 30 dB, what is this wall made of that 5.8 gigahertz passes right through it?
Well, it's the ladies' water closet. It's a wood panel wall. And then it's the kitchen on the other side. So you're actually going through the kitchen, metal structures, refrigerators, and then the office where I tapped in.
But of course, you're so close that there's scatter and spray and who knows
Right.
what, and you're getting the signal.
Yeah. The algorithm in this stuff looks for that kind of thing. So the more errors, the better. But yes, it's about let me see. If I drew a tape measure out, it's about 50 feet away with obstructions of every kind. And don't forget, we have the wait staff coming and going through the kitchen doors, so there's activity in between. So a lot of reflections moving.
Yeah. So they're getting irradiated every time they walk through.
Well, actually, I'm running at very low power, believe it or not, so that I don't overload the receiver.
It's not even turned up full blast, huh?
No, because you don't want the receivers overloaded with too much error.
Ah, okay.
Yes, it's the built-in spectrum analyzer in these little guys. That's what's great about this box.
So you didn't have to run any cabling. You didn't have to use gaffer's tape and tape stuff around. You're not putting up with any complaints from any building inspector or electrical inspector or the wait staff or the management or nothing.
Nope. My last mile is wireless, and my last few feet, and it's perfect, and it's working like a champ. I've been doing this for several broadcasts over the last several months with a friend of mine, and on the weekends, and flawless. We've a couple of places we went into that he does roads from. They said, "Where's your cabling?" I'm like, not today.
In our last 30 seconds, have you been surprised in a situation where it didn't work as well as you thought it would because of some obstruction, interference, or something like that? What will you look out for in the future due to maybe a bad experience? Anything?
Well, it wasn't a bad experience. What I did discover in one location about 3 months ago, even though I was using an omnidirectional antenna, because the antenna was horizontal, okay, it's just a long pole, it was horizontal, and I was using a directional antenna for the receive, which I just showed you without the ketchup bottle, it was on a mic stand. Because of the horizontal omni, vertical directional, I actually had the issue of 30 or 20 dB difference between the polarities, and it was creating lots of errors on the link. So I just took the non-directional, made it vertical, and the signal strength went full. Errors dropped. Everything worked.
Yep.
That was the only time we had an issue.
Good deal. Chris, thanks so much. I know you got to go. Appreciate your participation. I'm going to finish the show up with Scott then. Thanks a lot.
All righty then. Scott, Lisa, have a good time. Thanks for participating.
Enjoy those fries for me.
That's lobster rolls and crab fries and a nice pizza coming my way. See you.
Chris, give me the name of the place again.
Sure, it's Chickies and Pete's in Philadelphia. They have several locations. Chickies and Pete's Sports Bar. Yes, it's ESPN's #1 sports bar. It's very popular. Scott knows.
I do.
I'm the odd man out. I have no idea. All right, thanks to Chris Tobin for being here this week on This Week in Radio Tech. Well, Scott, hey, hang on. What we usually do is do our last sponsor, and then we either give a tip of the week, or maybe you have something in your travels in the last few months that you saw that just floored you. And I know you spent a lot of time talking about Nashville, but maybe there's something that just floored you that you'd like to share with us. We have time to share basically one more thing. So if you'll hang on and think about that and what kind of story you want to make out of it, I'll take care of the last commercial here. You're watching or listening to This Week in Radio Tech, episode 321. I'm Kirk Harnack. Chris Tobin has been with us, and Scott Fybush, Lisa Fybush was with us as well. And we're talking about transmitter sites and calendars, and it's been a good little potpourri here. Our show's brought to you in part by the folks at Lavo. Everywhere you go, you find touchscreens. There's your smartphone and your tablet, and supermarket checkouts have touchscreens now. Laptops are coming with them more and more. So do the radios and navigation systems in cars, and even airplane systems are coming with them now. I just read an ad from Garmin for some general aviation navigation products that are touchscreen now as well. They make sense because they're simple and natural, and their intuitive controls help you finish tasks faster with fewer errors. And isn't that what you want in your radio studio? Well, you can have that with the Crystal Clear virtual radio console from Lavo. Crystal Clear gives your talent an instantly understandable multi-touch interface. Now, faders, meters, clocks, timers, talkback, and more, they all live really in harmony on a single screen so that your shows run smoother and sound better, and you've got that one interface. Crystal Clear features Lavo's exclusive Auto Mix. Now, that's the hands-free, smart mixing algorithm designed for fast-paced multi-mic talk shows like this one. And Auto Gain. Just push a button, and the preamp calibrates automatically while your guest is speaking in the microphone. So you get the optimum signal-to-noise ratio with just the right amount of headroom. Now, with so much advanced automation, talent they can actually dock those mixing controls off to the side and use the screen to do other things like working with delivery systems, audio editors, or phones. Crystal Clear's power plant is just one rack unit. That's pretty amazing when you think about the staggering amount of DSP on board. There's compression, there's EQ, there's voice processing, and precision delay. They can be applied to all of your mic, line, and digital sources. Now, there's optional upgrades, and those include redundant power, if you want that. MADI is available, and Ravenna AES67 is available as well as an option. And all that power really costs you no more than you spend for an ordinary console. So if you're thinking about a new console, don't decide before you check out Crystal Clear. Go to www.lavo, that's LAWO.com, lavo.com, and read about it. You can call Bill Bennett at Lavo USA. Bill's number is 888-810-4468. Again, that's 888-810-4468 if you'd like to find out more. Bill Bennett. The future is clear. It's Lavo, crystal clear. And thanks to Lavo for sponsoring This Week in Radio Tech. All right, Scott Fybush, you're the man that gets to travel these transmitter sites, camera in hand. That's what I put in the tweet and the Facebook blurb about today's show. Camera in hand. What have you seen that would just make our jaws drop? Anything?
Actually, I got two things that aren't directly related to travel, but they're both goodies. The first one is our friend Tim Anderson. You know, Tim from Gates Air, formerly Harris, has been there for years.
Yeah, I just talked to Tim Tuesday and Wednesday, both.
He's making a big career change, and I couldn't be more proud of somebody in broadcast engineering. He is becoming a commercial pilot after being interested in aviation all these years. So I guess we're still going to see him around some of the shows, but he could also be the guy piloting my commuter jet from Rochester to wherever I make my connection next. So
I asked, I heard about this through the grapevine too. Tim, this is amazing, dude. I mean, Tim's 58 years old. He's got a few years before there's mandatory retirement in the airline industry. But then he told me he wants to go on and perhaps be a commercial pilot in private industry. Which, you can fly NASCAR drivers around the country. There's lots of things you can do. Absolutely. He told me he's going to be training probably, he doesn't know for sure yet, but he'll probably be training for a Dash 8. It's a twin turboprop, but he says that's fine with him.
We have those out of here, so I could end up on one of his flights. That would be, how awesome would that be, right? So that's thing number one. Thing number two that came out of the show in Nashville. And, we've seen now with the incredible footage that we've been seeing and are still seeing from the flooding down south is just the incredible importance of disaster prep. And one of the best attended sessions that I was at on that entire show floor was the one that my good friend Howard Price from ABC presented at. And Howard's big thing is disaster prep. That's what his job is with ABC, making sure that their facilities are backed up and ready to go in case there's a disaster. But some of the tips that he shared were just so fantastic in terms of what you can do even in a small market with working with your local county or state emergency operations people, setting up backup studios ahead of time, all the things that well-run stations do and that a lot of them did over this last week or so to not only get themselves ready for a catastrophe like this and not only to provide public service, but to improve their own standings in the midst of it. You can actually, if you're on the sales side of this, you can actually sell advertising related to this, and you can do a good thing and make money doing it, and still be benefiting your community and be even more prepared when there's a disaster. If you haven't had Howard on the show yet, he would be a great guest for you to have because he can tell you some scare stories and he can tell you how to be sure that you're ready for them too. So I highly recommend checking out his stuff.
Cool. I'll look on the web and maybe collaborate with you after the show. Maybe we can put some links in the show notes, and I will definitely ask Howard to share his knowledge on a future show. That's cool. All right. Howard Price, and you said he's with ABC?
He's with ABC in New York. He has a website, which I'll get to you. We'll make sure we get that into the show notes as well for people to click on. He travels around doing presentations. And like I say, he really packed the house at the show in Nashville, which was great because people, I think, need to hear a whole bunch of his messages, not just about hardening the RF side of your system, but hardening the IT side too, with all the threats out there now, with people trying to do nasty stuff in the IT world. So it's some really, really timely information, and especially now, seeing what they've been dealing with down south and some of the recovery efforts. Unfortunately, I think in the broadcast community, We didn't lose anybody. We didn't, I think, lose any major sites, and there's at least one LPFM in the Outer Banks that I understand lost its tower, and they're working now to get that back on the air. But it's definitely timely information.
Cool. Scott, as always, it's great to have you on. Thanks also to Lisa for being on. Check out Scott at Fybush.com. Everything Scott Fybush is there. You can subscribe to Northeast Radio Watch if that interests you. It's a paid subscription, but man, Scott puts a lot of effort into that site and all the information that's there. And then, of course, there is the Tower Calendar. That if you're an engineer, you just can't be an engineer without having a Tower Calendar, I think. Hey, Scott, we have some upcoming shows, and I'll let you and our other listeners in on this. 3 weeks from now, Steve Lampin from Belden is going to be here. He is not only smart, he's hilarious. And so he'll be with us. I just heard from Steve, and so did everybody else at the Broadcasters Clinic in Wisconsin. So Steve Lampin will be here from Wire and Cable. 2 weeks from now, FM Fine Tuning with Dana Popolo. We tried to have him on last week. Didn't work out technically. He's going to join us in 2 weeks. And coming up next week, there's actually another podcast. It's kind of a competitor, There's a competing podcast about radio technology, but we're going to have them on our show because they do such a great job. I want you to know about them. It's Chris Moran and Alex Linger, and they call themselves the Radio Tech Guys, and that's the name of their podcast. They do it live. I believe you'll find it on Facebook, and also they have a channel on YouTube. The Radio Tech Guys. You'll hear all about it next week, and they are just fantastic. I'm sorry, Scott. What?
I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah,
I never heard about it. This is good.
They've got a few episodes on YouTube right now. These guys are really good at the modern studio. They walk you through the setup of an IP audio broadcast studio, and then they give a lot of tips and tricks and stuff. So good guys.
I see a calendar-shaped hole right on the wall above your shoulder there. So we're going to have to take care of filling that quickly.
This side right behind me here. Yeah. Right. Actually, I've got a slot over there too, on the next to the door, next to the server room door. There's a nice big slot available.
There.
That's where I usually put. But you want it on camera? I see. I get you.
Of course.
Well, like Major League Baseball and NASCAR, we do have paid advertising slots available on the back wall. All right, Scott, thanks again for being with us. Our show this week in Radio Tech has been brought. Yeah, you're very welcome. I hope to have you on again soon. Let's not wait a year. Our show is brought to you by the folks at Axia and the Radius console, also Omnia and the SST processor, the FM processor that runs on your PC and does micro MPX, and by Lavo with the crystal clear console, the console you put your hands on and touch. Thanks a lot to Suncast, our producer on the show. Kept him busy today. Did a great job. Sure appreciate it. And also to Andrew Zarian, the founder of the GFQ Network. Well, you'll find lots of other interesting podcasts, including What the Tech. But check it out, and this and others on the GFQ Network. Tell your friends, and we'll see you next week on This Week in Radio Tech. Bye-bye, everybody.